All right.
All right, loves. Today I have the lovely Stella Porta, and we are going to be talking about the dream journey and what that is, and the journey that we have both been on, and understanding our dreams and feeling guided to whatever wisdom that flows through that dimension. And so Stella Porta, she is a star portal, which I've learned. She has a podcast, she's doing a lot of magic, and she's just filling the world with her divine, authentic beauty and magic. And we're on this journey, and we've gathered finally after a
I
hot
know.
minute to be able to come together and just talk about dreams. And we're so freaking passionate about this. So I'm so excited to get
I'm
into
excited.
this. Yes. And yeah, I'll link all of her information so you can find her work and what she does in the show notes, and as well as where you can find me in my social media and everything like that. So, all right, Stella, first question to jump on in because I'm just too excited to start asking questions. How did you come about the journey of dreams? Like, when did you feel curious about looking into them? Was the first question.
I feel like that's a loaded question.
I love it.
It's like, how can I answer this in just like under a minute? No.
We got time.
Huh. That's a very good question. So, I mean, like most of us, I've been dreaming my whole life. I've I call myself so many things. Like, I don't know. I guess I've always been kind of an epic dreamer. The dreams that I've
Mm.
had since I was a kid always bordered between different realms. Like I was I don't know how else to say this, but I was like battling demonic forces like in my dreams since I was a child. And it would be this battle of light and dark all the time. And it would just be me when I used to be very religious. I used to be really heavily influenced by Christianity, but now I don't really believe in any dogma. I don't subscribe to any religion. But back then I did. So that what I would use was I would say things like in the name of Jesus in my dreams all the time. Like I command you to stop and like which is interesting now thinking about my journey because now I've gotten to the point in my life where I actually just command it myself because I am the divine embodied. So I
Yep.
just say I command in it and that's what happens, right? Like I've stepped into my own power. And since I was a child, I was able to, I guess you could say, communicate with different interdimensional beings through the dream time. I didn't know it at the time though, right? I
Oh,
don't think many of us
yeah.
do
Yep.
because our society has taught us to I'm trying to think of the right word, de-magic things, like they take the magic out of everything. So when people
Demonetize.
right? So when
Yeah.
people hear the word dreams, they just think, "Oh, yeah, it's just a dream." Like they don't really subscribe any meaning to it or any
Mhm.
purpose for it. But I don't look at dreams the same way as other people. And I'm not even sure if that answered your first question because I kind of started going off in a totally different direction.
No, we're
But
trusting the flow. We're trusting the flow
yeah.
wherever it goes.
So the
And
past couple years, I had kind of a I don't really like to use the word awakening too much.
uh,
I feel like it's become such a buzzword,
yeah.
like a marketing tool now. But in
Mhm.
2020, like most people, I had this really huge awakening. I went through physical symptoms, like probably what I learned was called ascension symptoms. At the time, I didn't know that's what was happening. And it was probably the worst of them, the least glamorous of them all. Like my head, my crown of my head was on fire. I thought I was dying. I would turn to my partner in the middle of the night and tell him that I actually think I'm dying. I don't think I'm going to make it in the morning. Like my body feels like it's physically dying, which it
Yeah.
did. Energetically, it did in order to allow for some upgrades. And I had some new abilities come through. Yeah, like it was so if you had talked to me about this prior to 2020, I would have been looked at you. Maybe I'm an Aquarius moon, so I would have been really curious. The eccentricity really,
Yes.
really like, draws me. But I would have also been like, I don't know about that. I don't know
Oh,
if I
shoot.
believe that. But so even now, I mean, people that knew me, I'm sure I'm classified as weird or just
Fuck
different.
yes. Own the weird.
Right? And I
Own the
embrace
weird.
it. I am my this Aquarian heart embraces it so much. I was born to be weird. It's just the way the way it is, and I'm okay with that. But in terms of dreams, I guess I started noticing that people would always come to me to
Mhm.
like for my opinion about their dreams. And I didn't really put two and two together until honestly, probably not till last year where I thought, oh my God, like this is something that I clearly need to tap into because people see that within me. And I
Mhm.
I always find too that it's so much harder to see things within ourselves, like our own gifts and abilities. Because me,
Yep.
I could look at you and be like, oh, I totally know what, like, I see what your gift is. Like, it's amazing. You need to share this with the world. But when it comes to myself,
It's crazy.
it's like, right? It's like,
Mhm.
I don't know. It's like we doubt ourselves so much because we weren't taught to trust ourselves.
Oh,
So, yeah, and which is why I love
yeah.
relationships because we get to be mirrors for each other and mirror this stuff back what we're not seeing, right?
Yes,
And that's
absolutely.
also what I love about the dream time. The dream time for me is literally like dimensions mirrored on top of each other. It's like when we dream, we get to access these different dimensions. We get to leave our body rooted on this planet, on the earth, but our consciousness gets to travel.
Mm.
And so when people started asking me all these things, I started having, it's weird. I started having dreams back in, I think it was, I think it was 2021. I can't remember.
Mm.
But the spider spirit would start showing up in my dreams. And I kept thinking, oh,
Ooh.
yeah. And I kept thinking, oh, okay, there's something about weaving and dream weaver. And it started to show up in my dreams to the point where I was dreaming of spiders 4 nights in a row. And I was like, I don't dream
Wow,
anything 4 nights in a row.
that's
Yeah,
incredible. Yeah.
right. So at that point, I don't honestly, I can't even tell you how the pieces fit together. I feel like that's just life. Sometimes the pieces fall into place. We have no idea how they even got there in the first place, but somehow it did. It fell into place and through some support of like close sisters of mine, they were like, "Yeah, you need to start a podcast." And so I was like, "Okay, I guess I need to start talking about this because people were already coming to me with questions." Yeah, so I hope that I hope that answered
Yes,
your questions.
it absolutely did. And I just want to take a moment to just appreciate because it's a little bit about my journey as well as like very much an epic dreamer to the point where it's like it was so real. Like I can still remember dreams I had from when I was 14 and just the most impactful ones. Like I so resonate with what you said, where it's like you dream of dark and light, because I had one just the other day and it was so impactful. And I hope it's okay to talk about that real quick.
Of
Um,
course.
so this is the one I actually sent you a voice note on. So I don't know if you got to it, but it was very much where I was like suspended in like this space realm, and it kind of looked like oh, what is that movie called? Like in Thor Ragnarok, where it's like you're
Asgard? Not no.
thank you so much. Asgard. It was Asgard where it's like suspended in space, but it's just like this block of land, and it had like this dome to protect us from the outside, like space. One side was like the dark side, where it was like this steampunk looking factory, like just civilization. The other side was like the Garden of Eden type. And I was like, okay, that's
Ooh,
obviously like just good and bad right there. And I remember the ones from the good side, and I was part of the good side too. I got curious and we went into the darkness. And it's like, you're not supposed to be here. So the darkness like just drew us out. And I was like, what is happening? So like afterwards, I went back to the good side, and where it was just like this beautiful garden, and a little time went by, and I remember how there was like screams of terror happening like around me, and I was like, I don't know what's happening, what is going on? And I looked up, and there was like this giant dragon in the sky. It was grayed out dragon, red eyes, and an eclipse moon. And I was like, what the fuck? I couldn't muster understanding it in the dream of what was happening. I was like, this is normal, this is okay. And then the dragon just kind of looked at us, and I remember making eye contact with the dragon, because the dragon's actually my spirit animal. So this is the first dream I've had with an actual dragon. So it was like I was literally meeting him or meeting it. And I remember I was like, well, this is not good. And I turned to my brother and I was like, you know what? I love you. Whatever happens, like, I will meet you in the next lifetime. It is okay. And I just kind of, we said our goodbyes. We said the last thing to each other was, I love you. And then the dragon just like scorched the entire like space island, is the best way I'm going to name it. And I remember feeling the sensations. Also, I don't know if you feel sensations in your dreams, but I'm going to leave that on parentheses. So I felt the sensation of like burning, like completely, like myself being disintegrated. And it was so interesting. And I was like, this isn't terrifying. All this is normal. I remember this feeling from another lifetime. And the next thing I saw was like this square, and it was like a yellow goldish tunnel, but like it was a, you know how in like space movies they have like this time travel where they're going at faster than the speed of light? It felt like that. And then I remember coming back to my body, and my body felt like pins and needles, like, and like my whole body was tingling. And then that's when I woke up and I was like, I just fucking traveled and I fucking remember it. Like, holy shit. And that was the wildest dream I've had today. um it was like literally last week, but it, when I woke up, I was like, okay, I have to look into the meaning of the dragon. I have to look into the meaning of the burning sensation. And my interpretation of it was, I was saying, fuck the both sides, fuck what's good and bad. Like, in this planet that we live on, it's such a dual-sided nature. It's like, oh, this is what's good and this is what's bad. And like, I was actually okay with not being on either side. And the dragon was reminding me to don't look at life through the lens of what's good and bad. Look at it from the standpoint of looking to your creative fire. So it was just super powerful. So it took me a couple of days because that just rocked my reality. But it's like us as epic dreamers, we go on these like intense journeys and we don't know what the fuck is going on. We just come back and we're like, did that just happen? Like, I always ask, did that just happen? And then but yes, so to ask my question again is, do you experience like really strong like physical somatic sensations when you're dreaming? Can you recall them? That's been one of my curious questions for the longest time is, do other people feel that? Yes.
I will answer that, but I just want to comment on your dream before I forget. For me, so I came up with a classification for myself for 4 different types of dreams, and the one that you just had actually sounds like memory retrieval, what I call memory retrieval, because there
Ooh,
was a planet called Meldeck. It's not around anymore. It was destroyed. And it
ooh,
had dragons, and I had incarnations as a dragon on there as well. So I, as you were saying it, like I kept thinking of it, and I was like, it just came up right away, and I was like, yeah, you just went, like, you time traveled into like a memory. Like technically you interdimensionally traveled into like, because remember, there really is no such thing as past, present, and future. It's actually all happening at the same time in the quantum
yes,
realm. So
yes,
I'm calling it the past, but essentially you were traveling to the do you know what I mean? Like to the present of
yes,
that time, if that makes sense.
yes.
So yeah, for me, right away, I was like, oh, Meldeck. That's exactly what that sounds like, the planet of Meldeck. It's like, I was like, that, and it was destroyed. So
Yes,
exactly for that reason, because there was a battle between light and dark. So yeah, definitely something if you're interested to reach to look into. I can actually send you some
yes,
stuff after.
please. Thank you. I would love
Yeah, no
that.
problem. Um, oh, and another thing before I forget. Are you a Marvel fan like I am? Because you mentioned Marvel and I was like, I
Fuck
love Marvel.
yes.
Okay,
Marvel
because
all day, every day.
Marvel has esoteric secrets within it.
Yes.
And I
I've
don't,
noticed that.
yeah, I started picking up on them the past couple years that I was like, oh, wait, oh, that happened. But that's like, oh, I was like, me and my husband all the time, we're like, oh my God, I know what they're trying to say.
Yes. I have just noticed that, and it's like my brother is very much DC, just to like kind of waver from the dream path, but it's gonna weave its way into dream.
It will.
It will. And like he was very much on the side of DC, and I was like, fuck yes, I'm a full-on Marvels fan. I love DC for its own subtle reasons, but Marvel, I've just been such a fan. I've just watched as much as I can. Like my favorite movie is the Multiverse of Madness, where they just talk about different.
I was just gonna say that. I was like, if you haven't already, you have to see that movie because that's how I view dreams. That's what I do. Like that's
Yeah,
literally what I do.
like the whole Doctor Strange story, like I love his story like to the max, because it's like I see that as the beings who are awake in this reality. It's
Yeah.
like we view certain things in the how the Doctor Strange universe really just like pours through. Like there's so much that is symbolic in the Marvel universe that is, if you know where to look and if you know what resonates, you'll
Yeah.
be able to find the truth in what they're talking about. So
Yeah.
It's such a thing.
That's like probably one of my favorite movies. One of my favorite Marvel movies is yeah,
Yes.
I was just gonna say that Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, because I for me, astrologically, he represents, like, when he's at the beginning of his
Mm.
journey, he represents
Yes.
like the shadow version of Pisces, all the shadow traits. You know what I mean? Like,
Wow.
yeah, and then he becomes this great mystic, and that's like the ultimate, like, expanded version of a Pisces. And I'm like a Pisces North Node and a Pisces Midheaven. So that's like my spiritual shining star. That's my karmic destiny.
Wow.
So yeah, so like I really resonate with that movie, and because it's the realm of dreams, right? Like it's just, I know, I'm like, and I've had a dream. I think you've listened to my most recent podcast on
Mhm.
a portal
Yes.
between worlds, and it was like I had one of those dreams where like I literally started portaling by drawing a circle, and it was like I can do this.
Wow.
Like, yeah. So I
Giving
know I
me
need to
ideas
answer
for
your
next time I
question.
train.
I should probably answer your original question, but in terms of feelings,
Yes.
I do get sensations. Oh man, like it's so interesting because I think I've always felt within the dream time, like even when I was younger. But I found in the last couple years it got stronger. Like taste got
Yes.
stronger, smell got
Yes.
stronger. Like if a mosquito bit me or something, like I could feel it in the dream.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Or if like something
Yes.
scratched me. I remember that having dreams where I've been scratched by
Mhm.
something or someone, and it was like
You
I could
wake
feel
up
it.
feeling it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I am the last person to ever tell anyone that their dreams aren't real, because I don't know if you can
Yeah.
tell, but I believe dreams are real. I believe they're access
Yes.
points, and they're different windows into other versions of ourselves, into other realms. Oh, and
Mm.
my ears, my ears are ringing right now. I'm like, oh yeah, there we go. Oh, I'm like, it's like really
Divine.
loud. Um,
Divine.
but yeah, and I do believe that, and I believe we all have access to it, which is why my whole take on dreams is empowering other people to use their dreams as their oracle, because that's really what it is. You're able to travel into the
Yeah.
past, into the present and the future, right? So why not get your answers? You know what I mean? Like your soul, your higher self, your guides are trying to communicate to you anyways. And what's
Yeah.
the easiest way they can do that? Through dreams, because we don't believe that unless we're lucid dreaming, we
Oh
believe our
yeah.
dreams are real, right? Like we
Mhm.
believe everything that's happening is our reality.
Mm.
So my whole thing with dream weaving and how that came into my life to become a dreamer was to weave those dreams into reality, because everything starts in the energetic realm. So if we take the intangible, we can make it tangible, right? Like
Yes.
everything in our world
Ah,
was literally created from thought, right? So it's like, and where do thoughts come from? Where does imagination come from? I don't believe they're separate. I think imagination is the bridge between these worlds, right? I
yes.
always think about that because I talk about it with my husband, and I've dreamt about it too with imagination. And it's like, I don't understand why we think there's imagination is just this word that has no magic and
Mm.
no meaning. It's like, oh, just you're just making it up. It's
The
like, but
most
where did,
charged word.
right? But where do these ideas come from? I believe books, movies, songs, we're pulling it from other realms. We're pulling it from other versions of ourselves. I believe that creative flow is when we're tapping into other dimensional
Mm.
selves, right? Like our, no, seriously, I do.
Mhm.
I mean, and I'm an artist too. So like I totally believe it. Like I've dreamt paintings. I've dreamt of paintings, and like I don't even know like where did this
Yes.
come from, right? And then I've painted it. So yeah, I think there's a really, I have to do an episode on that myself, like
Oh,
the
yes.
correlation and the connection between art and dreams, because that is just, that's something, that's a whole other
There
topic.
is. Like I've made songs from dreams. Like I remember it when I was younger because that was like my whole thing. I loved songwriting. And
Oh,
there were like so many dreams where I would pick up on pieces or I would get just the names of them. Like I can't remember one right now, but it was so cheesy and cute. It was a love song. And I was like,
I
oh,
love,
I was at school and I was like, oh, this is gonna be the name to my song. And I woke up and I wrote it down. I was like, this is gonna be the names of that song. I so agree.
right? But
Yeah.
that's what's so beautiful is that we have this power, this, I don't want to say ability because it's just innately within us. Like we all go to
Yeah.
sleep, right? So we all have this, the
Mm,
ability, okay, I'm going to use that word, the ability
okay.
to tap into this realm because we're already doing it. We're already doing it, right? And it's just, and it's like, why wouldn't we use what we're being given? And I mean, don't get me wrong. Sometimes I do believe that there are certain dreams, like I have 4 categories of dreams. I do believe that certain dreams are just reflection, and some dreams are just like, it's just you trying to send yourself messages. It's not always interdimensional meeting points and dimensional
Yes.
travel. Otherwise, I feel like we would be very exhausted all the time.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
but for the most part, those experiences exist. And my whole, I guess you could say, my philosophy is to show
mm,
people that they do exist and to trust them. Like I think for me, I've never believed that my dream wasn't real. Do you know
mhm,
what I mean? Like, I don't think I've
mhm.
ever really woken up and been like, "Oh, did that really happen?" Like, I just know it's happened. It's so
Yes.
strange. It's like, it's just like, "Oh, no, that happened." Like, and I'll tell my
Mm.
husband as if he was there and it had happened. Like, "Didn't you see this? Didn't you see it? It's real." Actually,
Mm,
it's funny. He's in my dreams a lot, which is very
yes.
interesting because not that interesting because I
Yeah.
don't know if you've noticed that with certain people that have shown
That
up in
you're
your
really
dreams.
attached to. Yeah.
There's a soul
Mostly people
connection.
you love. Yeah.
Yeah, there's like you know what? I'll be honest with you. It's even past lovers too. Like they come up in my
Yes.
dreams a lot, but it's a different dimension and our relationship is different. Like in this
Yeah.
dimension, we're together, but I look different. Like
Mm,
last month, I had a dream where I was going to see a previous lover, but when I
mhm.
looked in the mirror getting ready, it wasn't my body. It was somebody I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. I get a goosebumps. I know. It was like I looked in the mirror and I was like, this isn't me.
I was just about that was gonna be my next question is,
Oh, okay, sorry.
oh,
I'll let you
no,
ask it.
you're skipping ahead and I'm like you like we're so on this line together where like you're picking up ahead. You're like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
just gonna channel this future question. Oh my gosh. So my next question is, yes, have you had you already just kind of said it. Do you experience a lot where like you see yourself in dreams and you see other people? Because I've had times where I'm like in the dream and I don't know me as like Paula, I know me as like someone else entirely. And I'll be a man or a woman or just sometimes even like an animal or just something. I'll be something else and I'll wake up and I was like, who am I right now? I have to let myself calibrate to be like, okay, I am Paula Feliciano, like, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I would love to hear you go into more of what your journey has been like with that and being a different version. Maybe
Mm,
not of yourself in the physical, but just a different version that your soul knows.
yeah. Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's powerful. And see, that's the interdimensional travel. That's it right there. It's like that's to me, that's like we're traveling to different dimensions. I resonate with the Native American word dream walker. And
Yes.
it's in the Marvel movie as well, but like which is that's what I mean. They're giving away, different
Different
philosophies, different
pieces.
beliefs, different truths, right?
Mhm.
But I believe that I do. This is when we dream walk. We dream walk into different versions of ourselves, but it's only very minimal. Like, do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
It
it's a
doesn't
really
happen a lot for
short
me.
glimpse.
Yeah.
Yeah. And where we're sharing a body with our other consciousness, our other self, one
Yeah.
of our other self, because God knows there's so many. Um, but for myself, like in terms of that dream, yeah, I've had dreams where I have a lot of dreams in malls too. I have no idea why I don't like going to the mall. I don't have a mall here. I live on a small coast in a small coastal town. So like I don't have a mall. But
Mm.
I've noticed really recently that I've noticed a lot. Sorry, I'm like stumbling over my words. I'm trying to get it out. I don't know how to do you know how it is sometimes you have dreams and it's really
Yes.
hard to put into words? But I dream a
Yes.
lot of malls, but I can never get out of them. It's really interesting. It's a very interesting. I gotta dive into that at some point with
Mhm.
myself, but a lot of the
Yes.
times I'll be trying on something or I'll be looking at myself and it's not me. And it's someone else. Like in that other dream I just spoke of, I had short red hair.
Mm.
My face was round. Like my face is longer in this life,
Mhm.
but that face was like round. I had blue eyes, I think. Like
Oh wow.
yeah, I was different, but it was interesting because it was me, but it wasn't me. Does that make sense? It's like
Yes, it makes
you look at
absolute
yourself
sense.
and you're like, this is me, but it's not this me. It's a different me. So, right? And
Yeah.
yeah, and I've had dreams where I've also met interdimensional versions of myself. Like I had a dream, it was beautiful actually. It was the night before my birthday. And this was a couple years ago. And I met a being who pretended to be, well, not pretended. They wore
Mhm.
the body of my mother, my earth mom in the dream. But I
Mhm.
knew it
Mhm.
wasn't really her. So once I called her by her earth name and
Mhm.
the being looked at me and said, no. And it started smiling. And I said, I knew it. I said, I know I'm dreaming. I said, I know I'm dreaming. I'm dreaming right now. And I said it in the dream. And I looked and I looked at her and I said, who are you? Right. And
Mhm,
that's when she proceeded, her face shifted, her face morphed,
mhm.
her eyes became two like pink, purple opals. And then,
Ooh.
yeah, like, yeah. And she totally morphed into this different being. And then she started talking to me and I said, okay, who are you? Where are you from? And she said that she lived in Lemuria 3 times, the
Whoa.
ancient land of Lemuria. And I
Whoa.
realized later that it was me. I think it was my Andromedan self. So,
Yes.
because it was the way she spoke too, where she was like, she didn't know what to call Lemuria. And the
Mm.
way she spoke was a way that I've never spoken before. Cause I remember it so clearly. She said, oh, what was it? It was, I breathed life 3 times, or like
Mhm.
I breathed into being 3 times. That's what she said. And I was like, oh, that's a weird way to say,
That's deep. Oh.
right? And so when I did, certain resources and people and things came my way, and I realized recently, actually, a couple years later, which is how it
Mhm.
happens sometimes, when you reread your dream journal and you're like, oh,
Yes.
that's what that was. That's why I'm very, very, I will always say keep a dream journal, which I call my book of mirrors. That's, yeah,
Ooh.
I call it my book of mirrors,
I love it.
right?
I love
Because
it.
it's, yeah, right. So it's almost because I consider it a form of scrying. So
Hmm.
yeah, right. Because like you're going into different dimensions. Your dreams are your oracle. So I'm like, this is my oracle right here. Everything I need is in this dream.
Wow. You're just giving
Yeah,
me these beautiful new ideas. I love it. Ah.
right. So in the dream, she started her face started shifting really fast, like within a second of each other. She would go
Mhm,
from that face to, I'm gonna I'm gonna call it an alien face with like
mhm,
big, huge blue eyes, bald
mhm,
head, like skin, and she would go back and forth. And that's when I was like, did I look like you? Did I have eyes like you? And she said yes.
mhm.
And I was like, I know, because you're me. Right. And
Mm.
yeah, and then unfortunately I didn't get a chance to, the rain woke me up, probably the way it was probably
Dang.
meant to happen.
It
I
was
know it was,
divine.
there
It
was a
was
storm.
divine. Yep.
But I do remember before I woke up, my body started vibrating really, really, really
Mm.
fast. And that when you talked about somatic, if I
Oh,
feel
yes.
things, to the point where my whole organs were moving, I couldn't even tell you. Like they were just shifting so fast. And that's what another thing I do want to say for people that are dreaming where they think, oh, am I meeting with like a negative being, or am I meeting with a positive being? I
Yeah.
will say you'll know the difference, because a high vibrational being will be high vibrational, which means they vibrate fast. I feel it. When I meet a high vibrational my whole body starts shaking, but not out of
Same.
fear. Do you know what I mean? Like when I meet a
Pure
lower entity,
excitement.
yeah, when I meet a
That's what it
lower
feels.
entity, it's more of, at first you're afraid, right? Because you're like, oh man, like I don't want to deal with you, like, because you feel powerless,
Mm.
right? But yeah, that's the one thing I'll say. The one tip is like when you meet an interdimensional being, you'll know. Like your body will just vibrate so fast, but almost like you've got a massager. You know those massaging chairs? That's what it feels like. It's just like you're just like, oh, you're really high
Girl.
vibrational. But
Ah.
so needless to say, long answer or long or short no, short answer long. Yeah, that's what probably was. Short answer long. Um, because it could have been a short answer, but it's not. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, no, needless to say, I've met a lot of different versions of myself. Even one time where I was facing a city that was in the sea. So there was a city
Ooh,
in the sea.
like Atlantis.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. And I could
Mm.
see, I don't know if it was from it. I feel like it was, but I'm not sure. And
Mhm.
I was looking at myself, and when I introduced myself, it was a totally different name that I've never heard before. I even tried to Google it. It's not a common name. Like a couple,
Google won't help you with that.
yeah, no, it wouldn't help me. A couple indigenous cultures have that name and they have meanings for it. One of the meanings was of Thai origin, and it said right hand of the angel, eternal. And I was like, oh, that's cool, because I've had readers tell me that my first incarnation was in the angelic realm. So I was like, yes, which I
Mm.
thought was really cool. I was like, oh, okay, though that makes sense. But yeah, it's just crazy. Like I can't, I love it though. It's because that's what I mean. Like dreams like that, I feel like are so potent as confirmation that that you're a traveler. And that's what I consider myself. We're travelers, right?
Yes.
And I mean, we could even call ourselves tourists in these human bodies, because
We
I'm just a
are.
tourist, right? Like I'm not going to be here forever. I'm just visiting. This is my
Mhm.
this is my vacation. Right? This is like I'm just here for a little while. I'm not here for a long time, right? So
Yes.
yeah, so I hope that answered your question. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that's coming up. I've had so
Yeah.
many where I don't know, I just find them those are my favorite dreams. Honestly, the dimensional ones are my favorite dreams. Yeah.
Especially when you're in space, like
Oh,
I have
yeah.
this like divine practice where I try to go out under the night sky as much as possible to just I call it flirting with the sky, like the night sky. Because I'll just be staring up at it and I'm like, wouldn't it be wonderful to just like I just like full on like have this love language to just sit down and stare at the stars and
I love that.
I see so many like shooting stars and it's like the
Yeah.
universe is like, hey, here's like a little gift. And I'm like I love it. So it's like whenever I see stars in my dream, it's like a deep reconnection. And I'm like, I'm one with like my people just to know that we're all stars. And like
Yes.
that's just my take on that. And any star dreams, any dreams where you're like in space or whatever, like I feel like that's just a deep reconnection moment where you can just appreciate that we are those seeds. So
I love
I
that.
love it.
I
Yes.
love that. I've definitely had dreams where I've been aboard a spacecraft.
Yes.
Although unfortunately it wasn't it didn't feel like it was a spacecraft dedicated to the light.
Hmm.
um there were I don't even know if I should talk about, but essentially there were prisoners on it from a planet,
Wow.
and the name of the leader, I guess you could call it, was the same name as the Stranger Things. And I never watched that fourth season. And there was a reason why I never watched it, because I felt like there was a lot of negative energy in that season. I watched all
Yeah.
the way up to 3, but when 4 came out, I couldn't do it. There was something within me that was like, don't do it. And I was like, okay. So I didn't.
Mm.
I haven't watched
It
it.
was a dark season. I watched it and it was a pretty dark season.
There's something about it that I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to go too much into it here. Maybe this is I don't
Yeah.
like it was just there was something about like I had dreams about like harvesting, and it was just like yeah, and people had like symbols on their hands, and they were like meaning they were like it was just weird. It was no, it wasn't weird. I don't want to say weird because I don't believe it was weird, but it was just it was
Yeah.
there was something about that season. And this leader had the same name as the
Mm.
dark person or being in that episode
Mhm.
in that season.
Mm.
So I was
Okay.
like,
I
this
remember.
is
I
this is
remember.
weird. Yeah, I was like, I don't like it. So but I was
Yes.
having conversations with people on the spaceship, and they weren't, I don't think they were from Earth.
Mhm.
Um, but they were humanoid, and they looked like us. Like they so it could have been a different dimension. It could have been they were wearing like jumpsuits, like almost like prison like jumpsuits kind of.
Yeah.
And but their skin was all the same color. Like their skin was like a rust color. Um and it's oh that's another
Okay.
thing too. I meant to tell you that I'm finding lately that I've been dreaming a lot where I know that I've entered a different dimension, and I say it within the dream. Like, I don't know if I know you said you've had one where you're like, oh wow, I think you're gonna have
Yeah.
more of those, like your dragon dream, you'll start to have more. What because I feel like once you're open to it, that's when your spirit's like, okay, you're ready for more. Like you can remember. Not
Yeah.
that it's
It's
not
like
already
different
happening
levels. Yeah.
in your dreams. It doesn't mean it's not happening. It just means you're gonna consciously remember when you wake up.
Yes.
So
Ah.
I know, right? So for myself, like it's I had a dream once. Not a dream. You know what's funny? I don't like using that word because I feel like people don't understand the reality of it, like how
The
real it
dreams.
actually is. Yeah, so I
Ah.
like to call it an experience. Like I had an experience because it's real.
Mhm.
It happened. It just didn't happen in
Mhm.
this realm. It just didn't happen in this on this planet in this dimension, but it happened. And
Yes.
I ended up somewhere kind of like space, kind of what you taught, and there was and I didn't know where I was. I don't know how I got there, but there was a
Mm.
little gray alien being in an astronaut suit, and he was so afraid because he didn't know how he got there either. And I was like, "It's okay." And I was trying to, I was like, "It's okay." But he we didn't speak, like there was no words, but I knew he was like he was running back and forth trying to figure out how he got there and how he like he didn't know how he got there, and I didn't know how I
Whoa.
got there. And I was like, "Where are like kind of like where are we?" Right? So it was really interesting. It's like we both ended up in the same we like teleported to the same space but we have no idea how we got there.
Yes.
Um,
Wow.
yeah, right.
I
So interesting.
can imagine
Yeah,
how funny that is to like to see another being. It's like
he
and
was so, yeah,
just looking at each other.
that was literally his expression. I say he. I don't really know. I don't think he had it
You.
was a
Yeah.
gender, but
Mhm.
um yeah, that's exactly was exactly like where am I? Like, and I'm like, I don't know, where are we? Like, you're the
Oh
space
God.
traveler. Like, I don't know. I'm just a
Tell
human
me
right
where
now.
I am.
I'm just a
Exactly.
human, man. Like, I don't know. But I don't know. I don't know. Have you been finding late? Oh, you were talking about somatic feelings. You were asking about that. I find lately hearing, I don't know about you, but hearing has been a big one. Like I call
Yes.
this space the in-between, which is, I call
Yeah.
it the in-between, but it's really the scientific word for it is like hypnagogic state. It's that,
Yes, I learned
yeah, it's
about that
that space.
recently. Yep.
I just learned about it, but I've been calling it the in-between forever. And I just learned that there's a real name for it. Um,
It's
and
scientific.
that's my favorite place to dream or to experience is a
Yes.
hypnagogic state, my in between. And I don't know about you, but try if you ever, for anyone, if you ever get in that state between sleep and awake, try to listen because I find
Ooh.
that's when I hear the different dimensions. I hear people's voices. I've heard people chant things. Yeah, right. I've heard like that's a space where if you can linger as long as you can there because there is
Yes.
magic there. Like the veils,
Ooh.
there's no like the veils are so thin between the worlds.
Let's talk about it. Let's go in
Yes.
depth because that was I was gonna ask you about that too. Like I'm like listening to certain topics that just resonate and like my ears like so fine tuned. I was like, we need to touch on that topic. So the hypnagogic state. I have had experiences where there was this there's many times. The one
I know.
time I remember, I can't remember if it was in my no, no, no. I remember. It was in the house that I was living with my ex. And I remember I was like, when you think you're asleep, it's actually just kind of like it's similar to sleep paralysis where you're not moving, you're just
Hmm.
kind of there. Well, I was like in the in-between stage and I was laying in bed and my eyes were open. And I remember voices coming from the hallway. And I remember so clearly, it's like, do you think she's still awake? No one else was in the house because my ex had like was working late. So he worked night shifts. I slept alone and it was just me. And I that was the first time where I was like actually freaked out about it. And
Yeah, of
before I actually, because in the beginning you're freaked out. It's just what it
course.
is. And and I remember there was two voices and my parents passed and I feel like it was their voices where it's like, do you think she's asleep? I don't think so. And then I was like, oh, I'm asleep now. Like I was so terrified where it's like, fuck this, I'm gonna go ahead and dive into dream realm and just like go on the other side and I put headphones in. And I've noticed the more and more where I pay attention to the hypnagogic state, I do listen, I do hear music. Like I'll hear like subtle things. It hasn't happened recently, but it has happened more around times when I was going through like really tough times. Like I noticed that where like I'm more in tune with listening, especially with my ex, there was like a lot of funky things going on in that relationship. So it's like I was listening in at those times for like a reassurance to is the journey I'm on like right. And the voices that I heard were just like confirmations essentially. So yeah, like I was like I'm in the time right now where I'm like open to as much as possible in the dream realm. And I'm like, let me have it. I'm so freaking ready. I've because like you two were like we grew up fighting in our dreams. And I always called myself a warrioress because like every single time I would be fighting off zombies, I'd be fighting like just demons and stuff like that. And so, and it's perfect because the dream realm is where we go to evolve. And like, I know it's like the personal development piece. And so the more dreams I had where I was fighting and just facing these, like, I'm not going to use the word weird in a bad way, just more so like
Yeah.
weird things that we're not used to. And I would wake up feeling super accomplished and like the energy of I can accomplish anything right now. And I'm like, fuck. that's when I started like just paying attention more to my dreams. And I was like, if I can defeat this demon in my dreams, then I can tell this person to fuck off and I can respect my boundaries and just be like, you know what I mean? Like there comes to a certain point where we experience those dreams and it's like we wake up and we're like, I'm ready for it all. Like I can take it on. I don't know if you've had like that type of like empowering. I feel like you have, just to be so empowered by your dreams and be like, nothing can shake me. Like I
Oh
went on a
yeah,
tangent, but it's so powerful.
I call that night school, right?
Night
Sometimes
school,
dreams,
yes.
yeah, sometimes dreams are like night school where you go in and you learn things about yourself, you learn things about the universe, the cosmos. Uh, I've definitely had those dreams. And
Mm,
it's so interesting that like I hope someday that I can like get to the point where I can consciously dream something, where I can go
yep.
in with a specific purpose, be like,
We're
I want
working
to
on
meet,
it.
yeah, I'm worried. I want to meet this person or like, um,
Yes.
I've actually found I've had dreams like that too, where they can be very healing, where I've actually met with like past lovers and
Mhm.
we've, you know what I mean? Like I've had those dreams where we've met interdimensionally and we like, I know we're meeting interdimensionally and it's like, okay, like let's just heal. Like, like our souls are connected and that's okay. But we'll see,
Mm.
we'll figure this out in a different life. You know what I mean? Like, this life, we're not, no, we're not together in this life. Like we'll figure it out some other time. So,
Yeah.
or I've had a lot of premonitory dreams as well,
Yes.
prophetic dreams. Especially with pregnancy, which I find very ironic because I don't want children in this lifetime. So
Mm.
I don't want to get pregnant, but I dream of other people being pregnant. And I always know sometimes before they know, before
Wow.
they tell me. Yeah, I'm already like, oh, I had a dream that you're pregnant. And it's like, oh yeah, I've been pregnant for like a couple months. I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's cool. Yeah. Like
It came out to
it's,
me
by the
now.
way, it's gonna be a boy. you know, just letting you know. So,
Wow.
yeah. And I did that with a previous lover of mine where I reached out to him and I was like, I had a dream that you're proposing to your girlfriend. He's like, well, that's crazy because I just bought a ring last Friday. I'm like, oh, okay. And then
Oof.
a couple years went by and I was like, had another dream. Your girlfriend's pregnant. She looked beautiful. Or your wife's pregnant. She looked beautiful. And he's
Yeah.
like, and then he never said anything to me. And then I saw it on his Instagram. That's when I knew. And I looked at the date that the ultrasound was taken. And that was when I had the dream. And I was like, yeah, I know. And that's why,
Whoa.
right? And then that's why I love having the book of mirrors, the dream journal again, because you can go back and be like, oh my God, like this timeline in a linear sense actually
Yes.
makes sense. Like I actually dreamt this before it happened. Right.
Mm-mm.
So I think there's so much power in dreams and that you can take away. So they can be healing. They can remind you of your own power, like they did
Mm.
with you. And you're right,
Mhm.
because I mean, if your mind, let's say if your mind is a prison and you can break free from that and you can defeat whatever enemies you have within it, then yeah, what's the real world? Like, honestly, this is all just an illusion anyway.
Ah, yeah.
Right. So it's like, and that's what I love your example too, is like taking the ethereal realm, the thought, and bringing it into reality, anchoring it in, making it physical. Right. So
Mm.
yeah, that's
Oof.
beautiful. I'm like, that's
Yeah.
beautiful.
I know. Oh, there was something on my heart that just wanted to be shared. What was it? Am I gonna remember? It had to do with that topic as well. It's gonna come back to me because it's just it. Poof, it came and went. Um, as far as like my next question goes, how is your practice? Like, how did you get into the practice of like getting yourself to remember? How did you immerse, or how did you like? What was the equation for you that worked to be able to go deeper with your dreams?
That's a good question. You have great questions.
I love
Very
it.
thought provoking, very profound.
Heck yes.
Thank you. Like, thank you. This
You're
is making me
welcome.
think. Normally, I have this issue sometimes where I speak. I'm Italian, so like well,
Ah,
in this body, I'm Italian,
exactly.
or
Yes.
I speak before I think sometimes because that's just like how I was brought up. So this is
Yes.
good. Sometimes I need to take a moment and just think about it. Hmm.
Ah,
To be honest, I that was the one thing I never found challenging was remembering my dreams. Since I was a
mm,
kid, I never forgot. Like I never had a problem with remembering them, except I do notice there is a pattern when I watch things before I go to bed. Like if I
Yeah.
watch a movie, if
Yeah.
I watch a television show, if I binge something and my eyes are tired, my mind is tired, I'm numbed out, it's a
Yeah.
lot harder for me to remember my dreams for like the next week. It's like it has such
Mm.
a profound effect. Like it's not, it's like a
Mhm.
ripple effect where you throw a rock in the water and it ripples out. That's what happens.
It's
It's
yeah.
yeah, it's just like you think it would just affect that night, but it's like no, it's like my mind is trying to now process what I've just seen while
Yeah.
I'm also traveling in the dream time. It's like it's a lot for the human
Mm.
body, I think, to really like compute, I guess you could say.
Yes.
So
Oh,
remembering my dreams, yeah, has never been an issue for me. But in terms of going deeper with the practice, like it's so interesting because I just thought this was normal all the time. Like I never thought of it as a practice. You know what I mean? Like I would just thought everybody dreamt like this. I thought everybody
Mhm.
experienced these different things. Everybody thought like we're warriors in their dreams, like fighting good and evil. Like,
Yes.
I thought everybody, traveled the cosmos when they slept. Like I didn't realize that was something that had to be worked on for some people, to be tapped into, I mean, is what I should say. But for myself, like it's so it's so funny because I just
Mm.
recently took a dream divination course with
Mhm.
Robert Moss, who I told you about. And to be
Oh,
honest,
yes.
I told my husband after the 12 weeks that I actually don't feel like I actually learned anything, only because I
Mhm.
knew everything he was already talking about. It was so, and I'm not saying that from an
Mhm.
egotistical perspective. I'm saying that like I've been living my life like this already. So in a way it wasn't a waste. I don't consider it a waste of an experience
Yes.
because it actually validated what everything that I'd already been doing. So I thought, "Oh my God, like I'm actually like further along in this dream work practice than I thought I was."
Oh,
Um but Reese, I'm going to be taking, I should have already started and I haven't yet. I'm actually taking working doing dream work with bee shamanism.
yeah.
Yeah, and I'll at some point maybe we'll meet again once I've really delved
Yes.
into it and we'll have a conversation about it. But yeah, that's another
That
thing,
would be
right?
lovely.
Yeah,
Mhm.
right. So it's just for myself, like I'm trying to get these tools and these practices, but what worked for me was when I told you at the beginning when I had those ascension symptoms and my body like completely upgraded and I started having abilities. I still don't know how to talk about this because
It's so
it's hard
new.
to put, right? It's hard to put into
Yeah.
words, but after all that happened, can see things. Like I can see auras, I can see not colors yet. I'll be honest with you. I just
Mm.
started seeing a color the other day after like 3 years. I was like, "Oh my God." I took my husband. I
Mhm.
was like, I can see purple." I was like, "I can see it. Let me see your hand." And I was like, "I can see blue." And then I lost it.
Wow.
And I was like, "I don't know how to get it." I know it's like, but I can, since that experience, I can see physical things um during the light. Like sunlight activates it, which is why in my last episode I
Mm.
talked about sun a lot because the sun is very powerful and I believe that there's a reason why they're trying to keep us out of the sun.
Yes.
So yeah, right. I'll have to send you something after. There's something
Oof.
okay, I'll have to remember. I'll make a note. I have to send you something after. But I
Okay.
so after that experience and I started having those ascension symptoms where I thought I was dying. My crown of my head was on fire, my third eye was on fire. I experienced vertigo for the first time in my life. I never even knew what
Mm.
vertigo really was. There was a whole day that I couldn't stand. Everything was spinning. I felt like the earth, I could feel the earth
Mhm.
moving. I think that's what it
Mhm.
was. Like my body, my cells, my energy was upgrading and I could physically feel the earth moving and I couldn't stand. I tried, like I had friends be like, "Go get
Mm.
grounded, go hug a tree, go sit on the grass." And it
Mm.
helped for a little bit, but it was like I could feel if I
It
could
was
feel the
so
earth
intense.
moving, I couldn't ground, right? She was moving with me. It was like we
Wow.
yeah, right? I couldn't so the one thing I did do, and I think I brought it, is this was my biggest help to my dream practice was blue kyanite. And I
Ah.
put that under my pillow, this same specific one. I put it under my pillow every single night. And that's when the symptoms would give me a little bit of relief to go into the dream time. That's when I met interdimensional beings. That's when I started seeing sacred geometry in the in between, in the hypnagogic state. I started seeing light codes. I started seeing languages. I started dreaming in languages I don't know. I even try to Google it and I can't find the meaning of it. I don't know what it is. To this day, I have it written down and I'm like, I don't know what language this is. Like, so
Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
so blue kyanite has been a really big help in my own practice. And all I do really is just put it under my pillow. I'll be honest with you. I've
Mm-hmm.
gotten
You're
lazy
so
with setting an
yeah.
intention before I go to sleep because I just use it. It's just such a part of me that I just go, okay, I just put it under my pillow. But when I started, I would hold it to my heart and I'd set an intention like, I don't want like scary dreams tonight. Because when I was going through that, I was in the shadows, like I was in the dark. I was seeing things in the room, like I was, do you know what I mean? Like, and at the
Yeah.
beginning, you're absolutely right. It is it's scary. It's completely
Mm-hmm.
scary. The human part of us comes out and we think of every scary movie we've ever watched, every supernatural show we've ever watched, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
we're terrified. And then when we're terrified, we close those doors. The veil, we actually don't open the veil. It actually closes because it's like, okay, you're not your guardians, your celestial guardians, your guides are like, okay, she's not ready. Like she's not ready for this. We don't want to scare her. Like higher dimensional beings don't want to scare you. They don't
Because
want to
they're
do that.
coming from a
That's
space
why,
of love.
yeah, right. Which is why
Yeah.
sometimes they only give you what you can handle. Like when I first started my dream practice, and I didn't realize it was a practice at that point. But I was seeing like ships were coming to meet me and I was scared in my dreams. So they wouldn't come. They respected me and they wouldn't come. And then I'd wake up and I'd be like, why didn't
What
like
happened?
why
Why
yeah, what
did
happened? Like I'm ready. But my subconscious wasn't ready. My
Mhm.
programming, my conditioning wasn't ready for that. I needed to deprogram, I needed to decondition. So that's probably
Mhm.
another thing I'd say that helped me was I watched Cosmic Disclosure. I watched a lot of Stephen Greer stuff.
Okay.
Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, Cosmic Disclosure, Unacknowledged. And I'm trying to think. Capturing the Light, really good movie by I can't remember what her name is. I can't remember what her name is, but look it up.
Okay.
Capturing the Light is another great movie. Documentary. It's not a movie, it's a documentary. But
Okay.
it was just like I had to, and Bashar, Daryl Anka channeling Bashar, I had to watch certain things. And that's when I started deprogramming. Because even when I first started watching those things, there was
The
fear. There was.
programs.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. The programming came up and it was like the more I immersed myself in it, the more it almost seemed like layers started to like shed off me. You know what I
Yes.
mean? And I felt lighter and it was like, okay, once I accepted that I am
Mhm.
also these interdimensional beings, I am also an alien. I am also
Mhm.
not from this world.
Yes.
Right. Like that's when it was like, and I had this really profound channeling come through me one day where it was like, how can you see yourself in an alien race when you can't even see yourself in a human race? And I was right. And I was like, yeah, why are the aliens going to come? Right. Like, why are they going to come if I can't even accept my own fellow humans? Why would they come? Right. Like, and that's what I think. Right. I know. It's like, it was
Because I
so,
have those same beliefs too.
yeah.
It's like there was a certain time where I woke up and was like, we're all aliens. Like we're all aliens because what is the classification of an alien? We exist in the universe. To other species, we are unknown. Like we don't know what else is out there. The whole lie of we're the only
Yeah.
ones out there is just bullshit. So it's like and once I started being like, and people will look at me funny, and I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I'm very much
And you
open to
shouldn't.
that. Yeah, you shouldn't give a fuck if you say like, oh yeah, you're an alien too, bro. Like what, you know what I mean? It's words. So we are in the aspect of where our placement is in this galaxy. We're aliens too. It's just
Oh,
it's
yeah. Like ever, like, you know what? And it's so funny. A lot of times we're alien to each other, and
yes.
technically alien is just another word, like you said, for the unknown. So if I don't know you, you're alien, we're aliens to one another, right? But there's so much
Exactly.
stigma around
Mm,
aliens because the movie industry did that
yes.
intentionally.
On
They worked
purpose.
with the governments, they did that intentionally to try to, you know what I mean? Because that was part of the disclosure. Oh, let's just get them fearing it. But now it's backfired because now they can't share too many things because people are like, oh no, that's
We
not
know we
true,
can't trust you.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that helped me a lot in my dream practice because I believe it opened the door for me to have these experiences with other interdimensional beings and
Mhm,
other interdimensional versions of myself,
mhm.
so it allowed me to like dream walk and I think intention is a big part because I don't believe in like when I say dream walk, it's not to it's not in a negative way. It's not in a dark way. I don't want to take power away from any other version of me. I don't
Mhm.
want to interfere. And that was another dream I had recently too, was that interdimensional border agents exist. That was another
Mm,
thing I learned. Yeah, and
interesting.
for the first time, they were chasing me through. I had two separate dreams. The first dream,
Ooh,
I knew I wasn't from there because I told the group I was with that I'm not from here. And I've been saying that a lot. It's really interesting. I'm noticing a lot when the more I do it, the more I'm getting these types of dreams and these types of experiences where I'm traveling. And I'm getting to the point where a lot of dreams, even I think just the other night too, where I dream and within the dream I tell them like I'm not from this dimension. So, and they kind of look, some of them look at me like,
like,
what are you talking about?
mean?
Like, I was on the phone with one lady in the dream. Like I was on the phone with someone in the dream and my husband was beside me in the same van that we have now. And I was telling
Wow.
her and I was like, "No, listen." I said, she said my last name, but it's not my last name from this dimension. And I was
Yeah.
like, "No." I said, "Oh, I must be in a different dimension." I said, "Where am I?" And she stopped talking to me. And I was like, she like didn't answer me. And I was like, "Okay." I was like, "She must think I'm crazy in this dimension, but in her
Mm,
dimension." But I'm like, "I'm not from here." I said, That's not my last name. Like I don't know who you're that's not me." So yeah, it's so powerful and profound. And like I said, it's really just being open. Long
yeah.
answer short again, or short answer long again. It's really about like just being open and it's finding I think you have to become open in this reality in order to open doors in other realities.
Oh,
So, right, that's what it is. So if you're not open within this one and you're looking at a spell or you're looking at magic and you're thinking, "Oh, that's not real," then you're not going to dream. You're not going to dream these dreams. You're not going to have
mhm.
access to that because you've already shut the door, you've locked it.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
but the beauty of that is that you also hold the key. So if you can decondition, deprogram, open your mind, stay open to the possibility that we are not the only living beings in this entire universe. And not only that, that there's a multiverse. There's not even just one universe. There is many. Like the cosmos is infinite, right? Really. And we
Mhm.
are infinite. So these bodies are finite, but we are infinite. So yeah, that's pretty much my answer. I know it's so crazy. I wish I had like a set practice to give you, but I don't. It's more
Yeah, no
just
worries. It's like you have to feel your way into it because it's like maybe like the examples of like your journey, it's like someone will get some ideas and they can kind of shift that because it's like all of our journeys, like we're influenced by each other and we're also like picking apples and different fruits to make this whole like
yes.
just fruit salad of like our own uniqueness. So uh so it's just
I
kind of
like
like an
that.
example to show others like what they can expect with their own, and as well as to like break out of that because we're really just giving like invitations for people to really just dive
Mhm.
into this.
That's a good
So
word.
yes, and I also had a vision of the show I watched, and I can't remember what it's called, and I'm hoping that you know what it is, but it's this TV show where they actually canceled it for some time because it was super on par and it talks about multiple dimensions. But the main character was like she was in this reality where her parents had died and then she was actually captured at birth and she was like a little Russian kid. I
Are you
don't know if you
talking
know
about
about
the OA? That's
yes.
my favorite show. I'm just
Yes.
watching it. We're just rewatching it for the third time. Like I love that show. That's my go.
Everything is
That was another one. It's so funny. I'm gonna be doing a reel about that show because I love that show. That show, I love that you brought it up. This is perfect. This is divine. I like
because the OA was like an invitation for me, like, because I had my suspicions. I feel like for people like us that really grew up knowing that there was more than this like physical reality, when I was younger, she was unhinged. She had like all these different beliefs and things that were challenged by other people around her. And for a time, she was conditioned. And then she broke out of that box and she was like, no, I was right all along. And to know that we are meant for more and seeing the OA was like, I fucking knew it. I fucking knew it. Like, there's just certain shows that like
yeah.
Marvel that just give the keys right there. And seeing that show was like she of course they had to go through the process of what is it called? The where you like die for a moment. Oh, what is the
Oh, the
technical
NDE.
term? NDE,
The
yes, the
near
near
death
death
experience.
thank you. So
Yeah.
you have to go through it. I'm like, there's other ways. Like that was just like extreme level. And other people do experience that when they have a near death experience. They had a show on Netflix where they actually talked about that. I can't
Oh.
remember the name of that either, but it was like I want to say a year and a half ago where they made this whole series that really talked about life after death was the whole premises of that show. And they were talking about in NDEs, like you can experience like higher dimensional beings, and then people will come back. It's like, why did I come back? Like I felt so loved there. And
Oh
yeah,
no.
and that show was like you get to experience the different versions of yourself, and it's just an invitation, man. It's
I'm still
beautiful.
upset that they canceled it. I'm actually
Yes,
I'm hoping they'll bring it back
when the world
because
is ready for it.
yeah, I don't know, because she's incredible.
Yes.
She's definitely a star seed as well. Like
Yeah.
I feel that with her because
Mm.
she's just like dropping truth. Cause she like not even just her. So she actually wrote it as well. I don't know if you knew that.
I
Yeah,
didn't.
she is incredible. Other movies she has, I Origins, also
Oh, I
really
have not
good.
seen that. Okay.
She's got a lot of movies. She's a fantastic writer, screenplay writer. Like she's amazing. She's got a gift that she is sharing with the world through mainstream, which I love because there's certain truths that are coming out and I'm like, yes, thank you. I love that it's so funny. As soon as you said there was a show, I knew it was that one. I don't know. It's just like I already knew. I waited for you to
We're on the
finish. And I was like, I
same
know that's what it is.
frequency. Yeah, we're
My
on the same
favorite
frequency.
show, me and my husband, both are our favorite show of like all time. That's my favorite show.
Ah, I
And
binged it so much.
oh yeah,
It's
we're on the third, we're just watching it for the third time. Like and then in 3 years, well, no, in 2 years. When did we watch it? And it was like a couple years ago, but we've watched it like 3 times, like the whole, it's like 2 seasons. They're amazing. Actually, I'm
ah,
watching the last one tonight, and then I'll feel a hole in my heart again until I watch it until I watch it the next time.
'cause it was getting so good because
It is
it's like
good.
they figured out how to jump to different realities, and it's now like my only question is like if they were to bring it back, because I love like fantasizing with like what would they do next since we don't get an ending or like understanding of what's happening.
It was supposed to be a 5-part series. So I
Ah,
think it was already planned. They had like there is a story, but I don't know if we'll ever learn what it was. I have no idea.
it
It
was
makes me
so
sad.
triggering to like the industry for this type of truth because I feel like this is my own conspiracy theory, so like you would have your own beliefs, but I feel like there is a certain level of community out there that is trying to shut down things that speak too far in the truth.
Oh yeah.
That's such a thing. It's just we don't know who or what. And they definitely that show was like definitely on the bridges of like what is true. And they were like, oh no, 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 shut that down.
Yeah.
And
Oh, can't have people learning about how powerful they are. Oh no.
exactly,
Right?
exactly.
It's actually crazy because if you go to the FBI Vault website, like the FBI has released a lot of things that were previously classified. I read recently about Nikola Tesla. He's actually from
Ooh,
Venus. He's a Venusian. And
ooh.
he was left as a baby from the start. Like they actually left him on someone's doorstep. Like that's how he was raised.
Mm,
Which makes sense because he was not from the
way ahead of
like,
his time.
and
Yes.
unfortunately he had a hard time with that. He tried to, bring free energy, he tried to bring all these beautiful things to the earth, and he was shut down. So you're right, there are
Wow.
definitely sanctions and organizations and people in positions of power that do things like that, fortunately. But this is why we're all here. This is why we incarnated, because
Yes.
we're helping from the inside. You know what I mean? It's like, no, we're
Yep.
gonna spread the truth as much as we can so that people can find their own truth. That's all what I'm about. Like my truth is not going to be your truth, but it's beautiful when
Oh,
when it resonates together, because then we have a shared connection. But
yes.
I also respect other people's truths,
Heck
and
yes.
yeah,
Because
so it's just
we're multi-dimensional. So it's like
exactly. Yeah, we're
it's
not only this and we're not only that. We're a lot of different things. And
yes.
going back to the analogy with the keys and the doors, something that you said, I was thinking too, was that where you talked about finding like, the apple, you use the analogy of the apples and the fruits and like finding
Yes.
kind of your own way and your own unique mix. And
Mm,
I totally agree with that. And I was thinking too, it's like if we've if we're trying to open the doors on our subconscious to be able to travel to these different places, because that's what it is. A portal is just another word for a door, a window, an entryway, right? It's just something to walk through to get to the other side. And what we're trying to do with our dreams is get to the other side, a different realm, the other side of earth. You know what I mean? Like a different reality. So I believe that we all actually hold keys for each other as well. So
Mhm.
like, right? So
People are
sometimes it's not,
portals.
yeah.
Yep.
It's like there's keys hidden in books, there's keys hidden in other people, and your paths are destined to cross at a certain time for you to receive that key. Whether you use that key is entirely up to you, but the information
Mhm.
is there. We've given you a key. You can either unlock that door a little bit more, or
Or you
you
can
can,
stay trapped.
yeah, or stay trapped, right? And it's like, yeah, and I feel that with shows like that too, like the OA, one of those shows where it's another key for a lot of people. And it's like you can
Yes.
either take that as a key or you can take it as fiction, whatever you choose. Do you know what I mean? But for me, I choose to believe that I believe that there is always some semblance of truth in every fiction. I do. And I've told that to my husband because, like I said, imagination is our stories, everything are coming from different realms. We can't just honestly believe that imagination is just something we pull from thin air. Oh, it's just your
Mhm.
imagination. Well, what does that mean? Because it's a
Mm.
place, it is a realm,
Yes.
it's a bridge between our multi-dimensional memories. And that's what I believe.
Ooh,
Yeah, I
never
believe
thought
that.
about it that way.
Yeah, I think our imagination is the bridge between the flowing stream of our multi-dimensional memories. So
Yes.
it's
Yes.
like this cosmic river where we can jump in or we can jump out. You know, we get in a little bit, we get out, we take a little swim, we come out. You know, like, so I'm using all these analogies, but
I love it. I love the analogies because we're artists. We get to speak
yes.
through our artistic words. So I love it. Whenever that's where the passion really flows through. And for me, it's poetry. So I'm like, whenever
Oh,
the words come through, they just come through, and it's gonna get people with the creativity, the energy of like, oh, I love it.
right. I love it too. No, I love it. That's what I mean. I have to do something soon between dreams and art because there is such a big correlation, and also between art and aliens. There's realms we're channeling and tapping into that like are multidimensional selves. And
Mm,
I say aliens, but it's like you said, we're all aliens. But I mean it in terms also of like
different
different
beings.
galactic races, like different
Yeah.
galactic. That's another. I probably should have used that term instead because alien, everyone just thinks of that little alien emoji with like the black eyes and the gray face, and that's it. That's
But
it.
yes,
You
let's
know?
change it.
Yeah,
Intergalactic beings. We're
galactic
using that
beings,
word. Yes.
galactic races, right? And we all have that within our DNA, within our lineages. So yeah, and I think that dreams are a potent portal to access those lineages. And there's so much
Mm.
wisdom too, right? So they're your oracle. That's my whole philosophy. Your dreams are your oracle. So when
Mm.
everybody's looking, you know, to all these other people, all these different belief systems, all these different religions, it's like, but you have all that within you already. You are the oracle. Your body's the portal, right? Oh, I just hit the window. You are the oracle. Your body's the portal. So what do you want to know? Go within. And I love it too because people get shy away from, you know, tarot readings. Some people still have some
Oh yeah.
stigma around that, right?
Yep.
So, or astrology, even some people don't believe in it. You know, you have all these different modalities, but it's like, hey, do you go to sleep? Yeah, I sleep. Do you dream? Yeah. Well, there you go. You can do it. Anyone can do it. Those are your oracle. That's your oracle, right? So go in and
Yes.
write them down and start seeing what messages and what themes come up for you.
Mm.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's my
I love it. And I felt this is so tangent to the masterclass I just had. Like we really talked about like
love it.
just bite pieces of what's going on, and like feel like this is definitely like more in depth to that master. It's like a continuation, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's yes. And especially with because I'm a super technical person, I love data, and I love to dissect all the details. So it's like with dream interpretations and dream analysis, I'm like, okay, what did I feel, what did I see, what did I hear? Like those are my main three things to like to try and not try to interpret my own dreams. And then once I can, this is also just like a guideline for those that want to also learn to listen to the oracle within themselves, is like, what do you hear, what do you see, what do you hear, feel, see? Like those are the three main things for me at least. And when you write down the certain things of those three categories, then you can go ahead and feel into, because I feel like there's so much, like you can Google it, but that you would just be essentially giving your energy out to look at, oh, that's what that means. And then you're programming yourself to think what that actually means. So what I've learned is, what does it mean for me? Because
Yes.
what it may mean for me may not mean the same thing as like what is on Google or someone else can interpret. So yeah, with my own practice, like I'm empowering myself and other people to learn the language that we get from our souls, and to really
Yes.
understand that it's like a puzzle piece. Like we're looking for different puzzles and we're putting it in place. And once you figure out like the messages from these symbolisms, then you can paint the picture. Then it all comes together. And it's so good. I can
It
talk about
makes
this more.
it makes sense for you because you're an Aquarius sun, right? Yep. And I'm
Yes,
an
Aquarius
Aquarius moon.
sun. Yeah.
And Aquarius, no, Aquarius is a sign of like they're the visionaries, right?
Oh,
And when I look at, I'm gonna be doing a short, I'm gonna do a live probably at some point, like a live
mm,
class on the moon signs and past lives, because with
mhm,
Aquarius energy especially, we
mhm.
actually have a gift of like clairvoyance, a lot of us. Yeah. So which is like dreams,
That
like
makes
it's
sense.
tapping into, yeah, tapping into other realms, because we're the visionary, right? But we're also the rebels of the zodiac. So we're used to
Oh,
seeing
hell yeah.
things differently. We want to do things differently. We're like, no, no, there's magic in that. You just can't see it, but I'm gonna make you see it. You're gonna see it.
I
So
feel so
everything that,
seen by you, sister.
yeah, everything that you're saying, as soon as you started talking about I'm data, I was like, oh yeah, that's your Aquarius sun. I totally get it. I totally get it. That's where you shine. Totally get it.
Yes.
Like I totally get it. And it's beautiful to be able to use that with dreams and like connect them and interweave them together. Like
Mhm.
for me, I love that you ask yourself how you feel, like you ask yourself questions. It's so funny when I write, a lot of the times when I write down my dreams, I just have an extra notepad by my bed, and I just like, cause it's in the middle of the night, right? I just do everything that I can remember, and then I go back to
Yeah.
sleep, and then I wake up and I'm like, what the hell did I just write? Like, what does this mean? Like, but but the way I do it, I've been tracking the celestial movements, the celestial bodies in the sky. So I've been tracking,
Oh,
like
so
I put down
powerful.
what moon sign it's in, or what sign the moon is in. Anything within my chart, if it's hitting a certain house, which is an
Mm,
area of life, because sometimes I'll find like, let's say, um, I'm dreaming about like sacred work. I'm dreaming about like a job or a new job. I'll dream my moon will be actually be in the sixth house, which is the house of Virgo,
mm,
which is also about sacred work. So I'm like, oh, okay, that correlates. That's what I'm dreaming, right? It doesn't
wow.
happen all the time. I'm trying to find patterns. When I do, I'll
Yeah.
definitely share. I don't know. I'm trying to figure it's I got to go through a lot of data for that. But
Yes.
but I agree with you though. Like it's just that always comes back to dream journal, guys, book of mirrors, most important tool you'll ever write. And I stand with you when you said, what does it mean for me? Because I don't believe in dream books, in the sense I don't do dream dictionaries. I used to when I was a kid.
Mhm. Yeah. It was a
Yeah,
little
right.
fun
Like
then.
you
Yeah.
had the your like my grandma had a book that was made from like the 90s, like it was like the 90s, and I was a kid and I was looking through this book, and now it's so funny. Every time I go to a bookstore, sometimes if it's like a dream dictionary, I look at it and I go, no. I'm
You
like,
just
no.
scoff. You just like push off.
No. Yeah, I shrug it off. I'm like, no, no, not for me. I'm like, stop telling people what their dreams mean, because like it's your
Ah,
own language,
yes.
right? And that's what it's all about. And that's why I think the Book of Mirrors, the dream journal, is so important, is because that's decoding your own language. You're learning your own language. You're learning a language, right? So,
Mhm.
and how else do you learn a language? You have to practice. You have to,
Yes.
and I find that the relationship that you have to your dream journal also mirrors the relationship you have to your dreams. Like
Mhm.
sometimes if I don't continue to write my dreams down, sometimes I stop remembering my dreams too. I've noticed where it's like
Mhm.
a relationship, because that has to be cultivated, because
Very
everything is
powerful.
energy, everything is alive, right?
Yeah.
So it's like if I personify, let's say, like my gatekeeper for my dreams, and like I'm
Mm,
writing down everything that they're sharing with me, if I'm not if this isn't a two-way relationship where they're giving me things, but I'm like, I don't need to write it down, whatever. Like,
oh,
they're going to stop
yeah.
giving me things because I'm not paying attention. The relationship isn't being nurtured and reciprocated. Like there's no
Yeah.
devotion to it,
Ah, yes.
right? That's a big word on for me lately, is like devotion. And I was talking with another sister of mine, and I said the word discipline, and she was like, I prefer devotion. And I'm like, that is better. I like that way
Yeah.
better. Like devotion to something.
Devotion's like an act of love, and just it's for me like devotion means, because I was super deep. I'm getting back into my devotional practice where in the past, like when I noticed the devotion I had, like in the morning and night times, nighttime was the practice of turning inwards, morning was the practice of
I love
getting
that.
yourself ready for the outer world. And when I was so devoted to that, a lot of my like clairvoyant abilities like really started shining. Like I was just, my ears are ringing all the time. Like I can see the signs so clearly. And I
Yeah.
was like, I look back and that was just like a year ago where I was like super committed and devoted. And I was like, where'd she go? So I'm like relearning the practices of waking up, getting ready to go outwards, and then coming back in the nighttime to go inwards. And that was my greatest devotion, was the relationship I had with myself and opening up, because I feel like the deepest love that you can give others comes from yourself.
Oh
So
yeah.
when you listen to your dreams, you're listening to yourself, and then you can take that with you to actually listen to others on such a deep level that you can meet yourself to gift that. Does that make sense? It makes sense.
No, no, that totally makes sense to me. And
Ugh,
I love how much we've been mirroring each other through this whole
yeah.
episode, because I was
Oh,
the same way. 2020, I was so on fire. My devotional practice was morning and night all the time.
oh
And I
wow.
can't even lie. I fell a little away from that.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's, yeah. And and I find that it does affect my dream time. It does.
Yeah.
It's like that reflection time. Which
Mhm.
is why I call it, right, the book of mirrors, because it's all about reflection. It's literally reflecting back all these different experiences and all these different parts of ourselves, all these different pieces of the puzzle, of the cosmic puzzle, this mystery, right?
Ooh, I got chills.
Yeah, and that's all I think that's all we really want. I mean, I think we all just want to know ourselves. But
Yes.
there's been so much conditioning stopping us from doing that, and just being compliant and being a worker, and that's it, and just living your life a certain way, that it's like, and only learning what they want you to learn. So it's
Mm,
like, when you start to break free from that and you start learning about yourself and how powerful you are. And it goes back to what you were saying about dreams. If you're powerful in your dreams, what makes you think you can't be powerful in your
real life.
reality?
Yeah, in
Right. And
corporate
I
life.
think sometimes, what if reality is just someone else's dream? Right. Like
Ooh.
right. Like, what if this is someone else's, this is someone else's idea. Essentially, we're living in other people's dreams, right? Because
Mm,
a dream is just, technically, it's a thought made manifest, right? So it's like everything around
mhm.
us is someone else's. It was once someone else's dream.
Yes.
This table, this chair, this house that I live in, like, it's
Ooh,
even the earth, even this plant that I have, if you can see it behind me, it's like that was creator's dream, right? So it's like everything is someone else's dream. Dreams are so powerful because we can use them to literally create the reality that we want, which is exactly why the dream weaver has just taken over my life, has consumed my being, literally, like, invited me into its world. And I was like, yeah, that's one of the titles that I consider myself, as a dream weaver, because I weave different realities within the dream time,
mm,
but also to bring it down into earth, right? It's like creating heaven on earth,
yes.
essentially.
To
Yeah.
put it into simple terms for people to understand.
Yeah. Like, yeah. I'm like, well, sorry for all the quantum talk. Let's talk. Let's talk about
Let's talk
creating.
in a way where people understand. Yes, and I like what I was also teaching my master class, and because like this is what I learned as well. And I read this quote somewhere. It was like an article, where when you dream, you're actually getting in connection to the higher consciousness,
Hmm.
not just like different versions, but it's like you appreciating and maybe not so appreciating because we won't know that in the beginning, but at least acknowledging that we are all one. Like that's my biggest like truth. It's like we are all one. We're just different versions of ourselves. And that's why we're multidimensional in this physical plane. Because like I see you and me and you see me and you. Like that's just we're
Yeah.
just reflections of that. And when we go to dream, we're just reconnecting to this. It's like a funnel where it's like the funnel is in the reality, it's like we are the single seed, single droplet. I made a poem about that, the single drop in the ocean. And when we look at ourselves in the dreaming world, we're like we're all of it. We are the dragon, like you are the portal, and it's just like we are those things. Like we're just refined in the physical reality because this physical reality can only take the one droplet. Does that make sense?
That
That was
makes
just
so
like
much
that was like
sense.
whoa.
No, no, no. That was so profound. That makes so
Okay.
much sense. It makes a lot of sense. I totally understand. And
Ah,
I totally agree with you. And that was, I guess that's another thing I should have, um, I should have probably stated too, is that when I talk, like you said, other versions of yourself, I am talking about spirit, like, right? It's spirit guides, um, higher
Mm,
consciousness. Cause at the end though, really exactly what you said, when it all comes down to it, we're all just fragments of one source. So to me, it's all the same. You know what I mean? It's like, you're right. When I see this eagle in my dream, oh, that's also me. Like it's a messenger, but it's also me. So,
yes.
like it's
Ah,
also source, it's creator, it's divine, and whatever God, whatever goddess, whatever you
mm.
want to adject human word you need to throw in there for us to understand what it is.
I love you said human word because that's
Well, because
exactly
it
what it
is,
is.
right? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, at the end of the day, this it's just human language to understand a
Yeah.
concept that is beyond our human capabilities. Does that make
Yes.
sense? Like,
Yes.
it's actually so singularly focused that it doesn't encompass the multidimensionality of what source God energy actually is. Because I don't think as humans we have the capacity to understand right
Mhm.
now in our present timeline, in our with our
Mm.
present DNA, we can't fully understand the mysteries of the universe. And maybe we never will. Maybe that's the beauty of the journey, why God
Yes.
wants to experience itself as Paula and as a
We're
Stephanie or
learning.
a Stella,
Yeah.
and Stephanie's my legal name, as Stella, as the plant, as the dog. Like, I mean,
Yes.
what's my husband said the greatest thing. He says such beautiful things. He channels the most beautiful things naturally. And he said something where he said, well, how else would God want to know itself but to unknow itself? Do you know what I mean? Like the only way to know yourself is to not know yourself. So it's like God source
We
had to
have to
fragment
forget.
itself out into all these different versions of itself so that he could relearn. I say he, I don't actually like using pronouns when it comes to God. I find it
Yeah.
brings back a lot of
It's so
religious like
yeah.
memories and I don't like
Yeah.
it. But
We're unlearning it, but it
yeah,
sticks up
I don't
sometimes.
like that because it's an androgynous energy.
Yeah.
But like yeah, no, it's really powerful. And you're right. It's like this connection to higher consciousness. And that's why I said it's your
Mm,
oracle. It's your
yes.
connection to the divine, right? It's like, yeah, it's great. I mean, why else would they call it divination, right? Right? You're divining
Divine
energy.
nation. It's a
Yes,
divine nation. Oh my
that's what
God.
it is.
I've seen it. I've seen it. I love playing with words because I'm a linguist and I'm also an
Ooh.
NLP person. So like if I can break down words, that'll allow me to understand them on a deeper level. Like the word compassion, like they tell you to not it's only not to use the word empathy because in NLP
Oh.
world it's like embodying apathy. You're embodying that
Oh.
apatheticness. And with compassion, you can be a community to be in passion. So I usually try to
Ooh.
use the word compassion instead of I'm empathizing with this person, but really I'm embodying their apathy, their dis-ease essentially. But with compassion, I'm like, I see you in like whatever you're going through. I see you and I feel you for the experiences. Like be with passion in that community sense. So and with I'm seeing it now with Divine Nation. Like it just makes beautiful sense.
That's
You're
beautiful. Those are beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Like,
so welcome.
see,
Ah, please.
the only one I can remember that I've ever like thought of is the word naturally, where it's like nature is your ally. Like nature is your ally. Yeah. There is like, oh, it comes naturally. Yeah, because nature is your ally. Like it's like, oh, that's like, you know what I mean? There's just something about that where I'm like,
That just made my heart so
yeah,
like
I'm
warm.
like, that just reminded me of that. That's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
You're so welcome. Uh, how are we feeling on time right now? Because I do want to respect your time, but
Yeah, no,
like, this is so.
I'm okay. I know it's
You
like it's been
okay?
such a good conversation that it's like,
It
how do you
has.
how do you end a topic that has no ending, right? Like,
You just spoke from my heart. How do you end the topic?
yeah,
Let
we
me
could.
see if there's anything else that
Okay,
wants to come through.
before we close off, that sounds good.
Yes. Let's do a little check. There's so much, and my spirit's like, this is not gonna end. There's gonna be more of these. I guess to the last question is, ooh, anchoring. That's what I'm hearing. How to anchor this because we were very much in our aquatic and airy energy where it's like you just fly high and you soar and just you're in flow. How can we anchor this for people that aren't used to this topic? or
Hmm,
this practice at all?
that's
Like,
a
where would
very
be the
good question.
genesis? I'm like thinking of like how can people start to really anchor in this inner knowing?
It sounds so cliche, but trust and surrender is like the biggest thing.
Mm,
And I think it comes down to kind of what I said earlier, where to start opening your mind, because you don't want to anchor. It's almost like in order to anchor it and bring this stuff in, you have to make space for it. So you have to get rid of some things that no longer align, that no longer work. So I
mm.
would say to, yeah, to start. I mean, we've mentioned some pretty good shows, some pretty good movies. Like I would say that OA is
So
probably
many
a good
keys to
start for
start.
people.
Yes.
Like if the like especially people that already like to watch entertainment, yeah, it's perfect. It's
Yes.
also educational on a
Mm.
multidimensional level, right? Um,
Ah, love it.
I would also say the dream journal is a big one. Is to
Mm,
get yourself a trusted book and to designate that as your dream journal. Although I also like to, what I've been doing as well, especially for the tech people out there, is that I'm old school. Like,
mm,
like I'm a 90s kid. I was born in the 80s. Like I like photographs. I like tangible things. I'm an artist, right?
mm,
Like as much as I appreciate technology from my Aquarian heart, I
mhm,
really, really like tangible things.
mm.
So for myself, I have a hardcover book that I use, but I've also started to type them digitally as well because I do find that when I want to find a pattern, it is a lot quicker to go into the find button and type in this person's name or type in an animal and find all the dreams with it than for me to sit there for an
Yes.
hour and
Just
read or an hour
fixing.
to read every single page. So
Yeah,
that
that's yep. That's how
yeah,
I do mine digitally.
that's something I would say find what resonates with you if you want a hard copy or a digital or if you want both. I like both. It is a lot more work. It's only a lot more work now because I have to catch up on typing all my old stuff.
Yes.
But if I had just started like that, it would have been easy. It would have just been like, okay, I wrote it down, but I'm also just going to type it quickly. And I use like a transcribe app. Like there's a free one called
Mm,
Otter, and that's what I do. I just say it in there and then I have it right. I don't have to type
good
anything. It's
voices. Oof,
right?
beautiful.
Work smarter, not harder. So,
Yes.
um, and I would say if you resonate with crystals, to get one that you feel you want to work with. That's another thing to
Mm,
anchor it in because crystals are really good at anchoring it in because they're tangible, they're physical, but they're also connected to the spirit realm. So
mhm.
to
Highly
celestial,
charged.
right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's like they're also a bridge too. They have that connection, just like us, between both
Mm.
worlds. Um, so and I love blue kyanite. And blue kyanite's also really good
Oh,
for dream recall as well. That's
yes,
why
I use
yeah, it's
labradorite for mine.
really
So
ooh, I
I
love
have
lavender.
this like
Oh,
crystal ball right here that's like a labradorite, and she goes with me everywhere.
oh, I
So
love
whenever I'm
that crystal.
sleeping, it's perfect because I resonate with the crystals that like enhance your psychic abilities. And if you want to enhance your own like psychic abilities, I do recommend um between, and I have one right here too. Where is it? It's the labradorite as well as I think it's celestite, because celestite
Oh
is like a
yeah.
very angelic crystal. So it looks like, and I've been, these ones are good for communication. I don't know
Oh,
if you can
nice.
kind of
That's
see.
beautiful.
So and it's very angelic. So whenever I keep this one on, I receive like a lot of angelic like wisdom and just like knowledge. So I love it. So
I
crystals are
love
very
that.
much a
That's
very helpful practice.
yeah. That's beautiful.
uh, and then I also have a little offering where it's, if you don't know where to start in like dream journals, I just created, like just finished a dream journal of a 22-day devotional to each day log your experiences. So for those that are catching the replay of this, definitely reach out. And it's like, it's deep questions of like shadow work. So it's going to be, oh, what I remember from this dream, to basics to, okay, what is this dream telling me from my outside experiences with the world? And how's that a reflection of my own dis-ease? And yeah, so it's very much like hypnotherapy questions. It's like a whole 670 page book of like how to, it's like a self-love dream journal. That's what I'm calling it. That's the
Oh,
name. that's the premises and the intention of it is how to get to know yourself through your dreams. And
I love
it's a
that.
beautiful offering that I've been working on unconsciously, of course, because like I was already doing that for years of like, oh, what is this telling me? How is this related to this person that, you can have beef with? So that's a simple way to put it. And once you see the connections between, because like I'm very much, we're almost done, I promise.
It's okay.
But with the I'm using dream work right now for like personal development, and I'm learning more about the mystics and the magic and understanding that this is like otherworldly as well. So from a human point of view, personal development wise, it's like when you dream of certain people, as an example, it's like where is that person you? And like maybe you have an unhealthy attachment to this person and your dreams are telling you that. It's like I
Mhm.
use that so much for just evolving. Like how can this dream experience, this night school experience, be able to teach me about my relationships with myself and others? So
Mm.
I feel like we're like two beautiful like spectrums. I'm like using it for like earthly, like how to better people, and you're like, fuck yes, let's go traveling to different dimensions and be able to anchor in this like ancient wisdom that was already there. And it's like we're here showing up in the duality of how
I
we
love.
can use it for earthly, and you see it, right? You see the
Yeah, I love it. You're the more like grounded approach, and me, I'm like, let's fly, baby. Well, let's go. Let's go. We're get hop
ah,
aboard my spaceship because we're going. I call it a dream ship. Like, let's get on. Let's go. Let's go.
yes.
I know,
Ah,
I know it's so funny too because I have a Scorpio stellium in my birth chart. So
yes.
I have a high concentration of Scorpio energy. So the underworld is all like literally what I'm about.
Ah,
And well, it's my imprint for this incarnation. So
yes.
I totally understand that with the shadow work, but it's so funny because I avoid it. I find I avoid it so much. Like me, I'm like, I'm not using it for shadow work. I mean, I use it to fight shadows, like in the
Yes.
dream, but like, you know what I mean? Yeah, no, I'm all about like, let's connect with like other versions of myself. Like I'm the trout. I love it. But I love that we both have
Ah,
these different perspectives. And that's what I love about dreams is that like when people learn all these different philosophies and ways to
mm,
incorporate them, then they can create their own way of doing things, which is really what it's about, right? It's like, I'm sure your way is like different, I guess you could say, schools of thought pulled in to make it your own. Like, you know what I
yes.
mean? And same with mine, even though I didn't even realize that's where a lot of the stuff came from. You know, it's so funny because it's like you're already doing this, but then you realize
Yeah.
certain cultures, certain traditions have the same beliefs. So yeah, I mean, for me, that's why I told you at the beginning, I see dreams. I always warn people, I see dreams a lot differently than most people. You're not going to get some like Carl Jung like stuff from me. I'm like, no, let's just travel. Like, I
Mm,
love him though.
ah,
Like, and you know what? Eventually I will go into him more. I do want
mm,
to. But right now I'm looking more into like the mystical side of it. So like I'm gonna do my bee shamanism course and like with dream work and like that's kind of like where my
we're
heart is. But I'm
so
a Pisces,
opposite. Yes.
right? No, but I'm a Pisces North Node and a Pisces Midheaven. So for me, this is like my destiny is all about the mysticism, the spiritual. Do
Yes.
you know yours? What's your Midheaven and your North Node? Do you know? I'll have to find out.
Yes, send me a link to be able to like look into that, because like I
Yeah.
know my gene keys and my human design, like that's how deep I've gone so far. And I
Yeah.
also looked into like interdimensional like purpose. So I'm like I'm a red dragon. What was it? I'm a red dragon nurturer. So like
Oh, where did you find that out?
I have to send you the link for that. Maybe we'll post it in here. So
Yeah. That'd be great.
yeah, so but it definitely like it shows you based on your birth information, of course, and then you're able to see which interdimensional being you are. And I have it saved. I'll send it to you because I
Okay,
have it saved
yeah,
in my
that's
phone.
cool. I
And
mean,
it's so fun.
I've I've definitely been many things. And that's the one thing I find too is that like I've been so many things. I'm a very old soul. I'm not sure about you about yourself, but like I
I
resonate with
always
so
tell
many
myself
things
I'm
because I've
ancient.
been all of these different things where it's like it's so hard for people like, oh, and a dragonfly dragonfly just flew by. I actually associate dragonflies with Arcturus. I don't know it. Don't ask me why, but within me, I
Mhm.
feel like dragonflies are connected to Arcturus and bees are connected to Venus. Yeah,
Mm,
I know it's very interesting. I don't know why I feel that way. There's got to be a reason. Someday I will go, I'll delve into that a little bit more. I don't know.
yes.
But yeah, it's just funny because like literally just right, I went right to my window. I'm like, oh hi.
I love dragonflies for the very same,
Yeah,
and that for the reason of like they always show up around the best times. Like I
right.
believe insects and like certain and not certain, everything has a meaning. That's what I believe. Like
I believe
the
that.
insects, they're messengers,
Yep.
they're teaching us, they're reassuring us, and as well as like certain plants. Like I need to tell you, yesterday I was outside real quick. It's just fun time. I was outside and I had actually gotten done with a photo shoot, my first photo shoot, like
Woo.
professional photo shoot I've never really done before, and I was nervous about it. And after that had finished, I was sitting outside and just like reassuring because I'm giving myself that self love and like, this is great. This is, don't feel discouraged. This is exactly where I need to be. And I have a little sage plant next to my seats outside. And I've never, something was telling me look down and I seen like two little cute little mushrooms. And I'm actually going to post pictures of them later. It was a yellow mushroom. And my first approach was, okay, I'm curious, what does the yellow mushroom signify? And the yellow mushroom is for like fortune, my ears ringing,
Oh, I love that.
good fortune. It's like wealth creation and prosperity. And that's what I'm actually manifesting and calling in. And I was like, because
I love that.
I'm going through this process of trusting that the wealth is already, in the wealth creation process. And yes, you do have to trust so much. So that was the earth confirming with me. And I also seen like yellow butterflies because yellow also is like happiness. And you're wearing yellow today.
I
I
know.
just
I
realized.
was just gonna say, I was like, I'm wearing yellow.
So yellow is the color for happiness and
I
joy.
love
And
it.
like it also is a color of wealth as well. So
I love it.
little things like that that the earth just sends us, and they she uses dragonflies, she uses butterflies and all of her resources to they literally yell at us to get our attention and be like, hey, are you listening? This is great news. And we'll be like, oh, get this butterfly or get this, like, you know what I mean? People will
Get
try to
away.
swat at it.
I
Exactly.
know.
Oh,
I know. I channel. It's so funny. Well, not funny. I don't know why I say that a lot,
divine.
but
It's divine.
so funny. It's not funny, but I channeled something similar like that a couple years back, and it went, energy is a language. And when you learn that language, the universe speaks to you. So it was, and that's what
Mm,
it is. And you know what? And that's, I got to say something too with oracles. It's not just oracles of the night. I also believe in oracles of the day as well. And I meant to mention that as well, when we talk about dream journals, I also leave a part in there, especially digitally. It's a lot easier than the physical one because I've already written and it's hard to find space. But in the
yeah.
digital one, I always put like the day oracle. So the dream is the night oracle, and then the day is like what happened that connected with that dream. Like let's say
Yes.
I dreamt
Ooh,
of
I'm so
like,
glad you talked about
yeah,
this.
let's say
Yes.
I dreamt about like a new job, and then, oh, I dreamt of it, and then a month later I get another, like I get the job that I dreamt about. That's what I'll go back into that dream and be like, oh, on this date I actually got this job. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
so that's, I think it's very important to record both oracles of the night and of the day, because then you see
Mhm.
how interwoven and how we
Oh,
create our realities. Like
I forgot
interwoven.
to touch. Yeah, this
Interwoven.
is this is so divine because it's like, yes, I've noticed that where there are certain things during the daytime, there are certain symbols. It's not even like, oh, this person, but like even yesterday I had a dream. Not yesterday, I had a dream and it was actually about yesterday. And I sat with it and it's like this person was like pulling out of my driveway and it had a silver car. And I was like, silver car. Like, and then the photographer's car was silver and it was the exact same car in my dream and same person, same freaking person. Of course, I seen like a black chick and like her hair was natural and that was just the gist of what I had gotten out. So yesterday was a wish fulfillment of from the dream I had a couple weeks ago. And I was like, certain things like that,
Yeah,
certain things like that.
that's jumping timelines. That's what that is. That's what you did. You're seeing it before it happens, the possibility of that timeline, which is amazing. I think that's
Oh
so cool. I love
man,
dreams like that so much. I really do. Like I really do. They're my favorite. Clearly, I like to travel. So
we it's things that we as kids knew was possible, yet the world was like, nah. And like we yearned for them. We yearned to be
We do.
um not validated. What is the best word for this? To be confirmed with a confirmation.
Yeah.
And there was not a side topic. There's a podcast I listened to by Aubrey Marcus, and it's like
Oh,
the
yeah,
most
he's great.
recent. He's amazing, and the I recommend that you guys go see it because it really was an invitation for me to fucking step up, and it's just the best way to say it. And in that podcast, it's the one that where they went to Egypt and they were talking about their experiences,
Yeah.
the stuff they
That's
experienced
on my
there.
list.
They a little gist of that is they went there for an activation, like they fully activated in that energy. And essentially, like one of the other guys that was there, and I seen him in me because he was even saying like you wouldn't believe this experience I had. And he was talking about his childhood, how he always knew he was destined for more. And
Yeah.
as life went on, he let that go. And in that moment, when they were in Egypt, explaining from their own experiences, he said he felt a level of completion, knowing that how do I sum it up in my own words? He had this experience that he was doubting for the longest time. And Egypt was like, this is true. This is true. And it's just, I don't want to give too much away. So that you're
No.
just going to have to go see it and just really understand because he's like, I encourage you to not believe me and just to like test it out in your own, like do your reality testing for your own experiences. But my body was kept screaming like full fuck yes. Like I knew Egypt is like such a charged land. And you know what I mean? Like we all
Oh,
have
I
a
do.
feeling of we've all been to Egypt. And why do we have this feeling like we've all been there? It's because it's a whole different civilization that was way ahead of its time. So yeah. So
That's
recommend that as well.
that's divine. Of course, you're bringing up Egypt. Me and my husband have been feeling the call for so long. We keep talking about, we're like, oh, one of these days we gotta go. Gotta go. Because I
Maybe we
feel like
should plan
something's
to go
waiting.
together.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, let's do that.
See, I want my dream, just like a heads up, y'all. Like my soul dream is to create retreats for people to into the two activations with people. So I am planning long-term goal is to create retreats in certain places.
Yeah.
And one of them is Grace. I feel super called to
Oh,
go there
me
first.
too. To Greece?
Oh,
To
to Greece
Greece?
first.
Yeah.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
soul is like go to Greece first and then afterwards see about Egypt because those are two places my inner child was like, we're going there.
Yeah.
We've been there
Me
before. We
too.
just got to go back.
I've lived lives there before. Like, and that's what I think. I feel like all these places are keys. This is what it is. They hold keys for
Yeah.
you, and you have to go to get you have to get the key. And once you do,
Yes.
it unlocks a certain part of yourself that was dormant.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's powerful.
How do we end this?
I don't know, but I'm
End
gonna
the
stop
topic.
talking because
All
I
right.
could keep talking about dreams for so long. This is why I have my own podcast because I can't stop talking about it.
Thank you so much. We're going to be creating more of these when we feel it's time again. So stay tuned, and then we'll list all of our information in the show notes to keep up with us and just like learn more about what we're doing and the magic that we're creating in the world. So it's my heart's just like so full and
I
just
know.
thank you so much, Stella, for like
Thank
finally
you.
being able to hold space for this topic. And we're birthing invitations. So it just feels so good to do this.
Thank you for
Oh.
having me. I'm so honored. I love finding a fellow
Dream traveler.
dream traveler. Yeah, I was trying to think of
Yeah.
another like more like passionate word because we're both really passionate about like you're the linguist.
Yeah. I'm feeling something is just dream soul sisters. We'll just put that there for now.
All right, let's do
It's
it.
yeah, dream soul sisters, because we find there are people out there that feel interested in dreams. So definitely stay tuned. And we got some really cool stuff coming out in this world. So
Yeah.
thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Catch you guys later.